Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us for the monthly employment data release media call. My name is Emily Hetherington, and I serve as Deputy Director of Communications and External Affairs at FloridaCommerce. Joining me here is Jimmy Heckman, Bureau Chief for Workforce Statistics and Economic Research. At the conclusion of this presentation, we will be taking questions from credentialed media. To ask a question, please submit it through the Teams chat feature, since we will not be able to accept questions through a private chat. We will address as many questions as possible, but if your question is not covered, please email media@commerce.fl.gov and our teams will work to get you an answer. Today's presentation is focused on employment data for November 2024. If you have questions regarding other Florida Commerce topics, also use the media@commerce.fl.gov email to connect with our communications and external affairs team. I will now turn it over to Jim.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you for everybody for joining us this morning. At 10 o'clock this morning, the Florida Department of Commerce released November 2024 labor statistics for the state of Florida, as well as its sub-state areas, including all metropolitan areas, counties, and large cities. These data were produced by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics through a federal-state cooperative agreement with FloridaCommerce. Data were collected through a combination of employer and household surveys, administrative records, and statistical modeling techniques. Florida's unemployment rate and labor force are published under the Local Area Unemployment Statistics Program using information collected by the Current Population Survey. These statistics are based on a survey of households, and they capture information about individuals as opposed to jobs, and they are calculated by place of residence as opposed to place of work. Florida's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate in November 2024 was 3.4%, up 0.1 of a percentage point from the previous month, and up 0.3 of a percentage point from November of last year. The national unemployment rate was 4.2%, up 0.1 of a percentage point from the previous month. Florida's unemployment rate is 0.8 of a percentage point lower than the national rate and has now remained lower for 49 consecutive months since November 2020. Monroe County had the state's lowest unemployment rate at 2.3%, followed by Miami-Dade County at 2.4% and Gulf County at 3.2%. Citrus County had the highest unemployment rate at 5.5%, followed by Hamilton County and Hendry counties at 5.2% each, and Highlands and Sumter counties at 5.1% each. The unemployment rate of 3.4% in November 2024 represented 376,000 jobless individuals out of a labor force of 11,015,000. Total employment, or the number of people with jobs, decreased by 21,000 or 0.2% from the prior month, while unemployment increased by 7,000 or 1.9% from the prior month. Florida's labor force of 11,015,000, which is composed of all currently employed workers as well as unemployed job seekers who are actively looking for work, decreased by 14,000 or 0.1% from the prior month. This is the 8th consecutive month of declines in the statewide labor force, and this trend has been driven by an increase in retirements and workers over the age of 55. Here we see the over-the-year percent change in the labor force of Florida, shown in blue, compared to the United States, shown in green. As of November 2024, Florida's labor force has declined by 0.4 of a percentage point over the year. The national labor force grew at a rate of only 0.1% over the same time period. This is the 5th consecutive month that Florida's labor force over the year-over-year growth rate has been slower than the national growth rate. Job creation data for Florida is derived from the Current Employment Statistics, or CES survey, conducted by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The CES survey collects data from over 40,000 Florida businesses and establishments each month to measure jobs by industry across the state. Since these statistics are based on a survey of employers, they measure counts of jobs as opposed to individuals, and they capture characteristics of employers such as industry and types of work. After dropping 35,000 jobs in October after hurricanes Helene and Milton made landfall, the state has added back 61,500 jobs in November of 2024. On net, Florida's total non-agricultural employment level is now 26,500 jobs higher than it was in September of 2024, prior to the hurricanes. With the job gains released today, the state has averaged a faster rate of job growth over the last 3 months than in the 3-month period immediately preceding Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Total non-agricultural employment in Florida rose to 10,010,500 jobs in November 2024, up 163,000 jobs from 1 year ago, an increase of 1.7%. This also marks the first month that Florida's total non-agricultural employment reached a level of over 10 million jobs. The private sector component of employment was 8,849,500 jobs in November 2024, an increase of 60,100 jobs, or 0.7% from the prior month. Total private employment was 137,400 jobs from November of 2023, an over-the-year increase of 1.6%. This was faster than the national private sector job growth of 1.3% over the same time period. Florida's over-the-year private sector job growth has exceeded the nation's for 43 of the last 44 months since April of 2021. 9 out of the state's 10 industry supersectors in Florida gained jobs over the month. Leisure and hospitality gained the most jobs, increasing by 30,500 jobs, or 2.3%, followed by trade, transportation, and utilities, increasing by 11,000 jobs, or 0.5%, and construction, increasing by 7,600 jobs, or 1.1%. Professional and business services was the only industry supersector in Florida that lost jobs over the month, declining by 200 jobs, or just shy of 0.1%. In this graph, we see the over-the-year change in employment by industry supersector between November 2023 and November 2024, in Florida shown in blue compared to the United States shown in green. The fastest growing Florida industries over the past year were construction at 4.5%, followed by other services at 4.3%, and leisure and hospitality at 2.4%. 7 major sectors outpaced national trends over the last 12 months. The top 3 sectors where Florida outperformed national growth the most were other services, construction, and information. This map shows the seasonally adjusted over-the-month job growth by local metro area in November 2024. In November 2024, 20 of the 24 metro areas gained jobs over the month, and 19 of 24 metro areas have recovered to pre-hurricane levels of employment. The Tampa metro area, which lost the most jobs of any metro area in Florida after the hurricanes, gained the most jobs in November 2024, adding 14,100 jobs. This was followed by the Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford metro area, gaining 10,100 jobs, and the Miami, Miami Beach, Kendall metro area, adding 6,300 jobs. No Florida metro areas lost jobs in November. The 5 metro areas with employment still below September 2024 levels are Ocala, Sebastian, Vero Beach metro area, the Naples, Immokalee, Marco Island metro area, Punta Gorda metro area, and the Northport, Sarasota, Bradenton metro area. Of these areas, the Northport, Sarasota, Bradenton MSA had the most jobs left to recover before returning to pre-Milton employment at 1,500 jobs. And here we see the most recent job openings and labor turnover survey data for Florida. Please note that this slide reflects information from October 2024, which is the latest data available. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that the number of job openings, shown here in blue, increased to 463,000 in October of 2024, an over-the-month increase of 58,000, or 14.3%, and down 20.9% from 1 year ago. There were 196,000 quits, shown here in gray, in October of 2024, an over-the-month decrease of 54,000, or 21.6%, and down 31.2% from 1 year ago. There were also 294,000 hires, shown here in green, in October of 2024, an over-the-month decrease of 82,000, or 21.8%, and down 27.6% from 1 year ago. This concludes the presentation, and I'll be happy to field any questions from Prudential Media.
Okay, from Tom Urban. Why does Florida continue to see stronger employment than the national average?
Good morning, Tom, and thank you for your question. I think that's due to a couple of different factors. The first and foremost factor is that Florida employers just continue to have really strong demand for labor. That's evidenced by a couple things. One is that Florida continues to have one of the highest business formation rates in the country. Since 2019, Florida has seen more business formations than any other state. And another reason that we're confident in is that Florida has had one of the higher population growth rates in the country, adding to that labor supply component of that job growth as well.
Thanks, Jimmy. And another question from Tom. Given how low the jobless rate is, do we expect to see continued small upticks in unemployment over the next few months?
Thank you for that question as well, Tom. I don't think we really expect to see small upticks at any particular rate going forward, but I will say that just the trends that we've seen over the last 6 to 8 months with very small increases in unemployment coupled with also relatively small decreases in the labor force growth. If those continue, we will see continued maybe every other month or so we might see a 0.1 percentage point increase in unemployment if those trends continue. But that's not something that we're really prepared to project on at this moment. That's just how the current trends have gone over the last year or so.
And from Jim Turner, are you seeing any lingering impacts to any sectors from the hurricanes that hit the state this year? Do you see some industries that benefited from the storms?
Good morning, Jim, and thank you for that question. Lingering impacts to any sectors from hurricanes that hit the state this year. We actually saw a pretty broad recovery across all sectors. We said this month that 9 out of 10 of the major super sectors added jobs over the month. For first and foremost was leisure and hospitality, adding back, I think, over 30,000 jobs in 1 month. That was well over the amount of jobs that were lost in October. And that sector was really the hardest hit. That's the sector where you see a lot of, kind of part-time jobs that are subject to temporary, temporary closures. And especially those are the types of jobs that tend to be located in hurricane affected areas. And so when we see that sector recovering jobs at a pretty rapid rate, we also saw construction recovering jobs at a pretty rapid rate. I don't think there are any sectors or major sectors at least that are really still in that recovery mode, statewide at least. We do see a couple of, like I said, there's a couple of metro areas, some localized areas that haven't quite reached back to pre-hurricane employment levels down in that Southwest Florida area. We'll continue to watch those. But as far as major hurricanes go, those areas, I think, made it through pretty robustly with some of the efforts that the state has made to mitigate the impacts in those areas.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today for the November 2024 rate release. If you have any additional questions, please email media@commerce.fl.gov. We look forward to having you for our next rate release for December 2024 on January 24th, 2025. Thank you and Merry Christmas.